Good evening, everybody. It's June 24th, Tuesday, 2024, here at PreciseAlgorithmTrading.com. And if anybody's new, we talk about the markets here, and we've got our automated trading systems and our manual trading systems. And tonight, I'm just going to do a quick review because there's really only one chart to look at in the automated trading systems, and it's this NASDAQ chart. It's the new system versus the old one. Uh, this one's looking like it's starting to try to break out again. So what's different about this one versus the old one is that our pullbacks are not as deep. And if you go back and look at any of the charts from, usually I compare them all, but tonight I just wanted to look at this one because it's the only one really worth talking about. The other markets are doing what they normally have been doing, which is a lot of sideways to down. This one looks like it's wanting to start to think about breaking out. Our actual trades today in this system, and there's a few of them, but a lot of them are stop outs, but then we had a nice one winner there. We had some winners in the other systems, but nothing to write home about. This is what actually makes this equity curve go up, is when we get those stop outs, they're just minor, and then you get this thing to turn back, and we get the runners in the basically when the market starts trending again, either direction, long or short. All right, the actual markets today. The S&P went up 7.94 points, or 0.15%. I don't know how Vera got in here because it's a new trade. Taking it off. The Dow today went up 140 points. So you can see here, if you follow along, I mean, this is all green. We had a little red, and we're back up to green again. We are negative momentum, under zero, potentially turning around, and that's based off, if you look at the hourly chart over here, we're positive momentum above zero, light blue. So this all has to start like making new higher highs and higher lows for this to actually start to work out. This is still on the daily chart in higher highs and higher lows. If this starts to, like, this turns into a lower high, this thing could unwind pretty hard to the downside. Then we'll be watching for a break of the lower low, or of the low, to make a new lower low. And I don't think that's going to happen here, but anything's possible. So the Dow has done all that, and it looks like it's trying to put in just a higher low. It's kind of what I would expect to stay, and it's that thing can go back up from here and stay in a sideways chop for a bit. We are negative momentum, potentially rolling up because we got positive momentum on the hourly chart. And again, we got to start making higher highs and higher lows. It's not really doing that yet. We got to get past these moving averages again for this thing to start really to get back to positive. Right now, the bullish percent indexes are looking pretty rough, so that is adding to the downside here. There's a ton of other metrics that go into the markets. These are just the ones that we watch because they're simple. They kind of take away a lot of the noise. And yeah, let's look at, instead of the Russell, which zeroes out here at night, drives me crazy. Let's look at the IWM because it's just the exchange traded fund for the Russell. And I'm going to zoom in here for a minute. And you can see it is fighting, it looks like, to stay above the 50% line. When I was talking about this, I think the other night, this looks like an inverted head and shoulders pattern. You can Google that, head and shoulders, inverted head and shoulders, and my target's way up here. Not saying that's going to play out that way. I am not in this instrument right now, trading wise. I'm watching it to see if I can get an edge to be able to maybe take that trade. But if it breaks down below the 50% line here, then it's dead to me. Right now, it looks like it wants to potentially maybe come up on the hourly basis. And if we added like the RTY here to look at that, yeah, I'm going to be watching for. I'd have to turn on the overnight, which I can do. We could take a look at the futures and turn on extended hours and see what's going on. That changes this look a little bit, where we're starting to possibly get some positive momentum, but it's not enough for me to do much about. I'll have to see that happen during the trading day. So right now it looks like that. All right. So the Dow went up 140 points today. We talked about that. The Russell went, what did we say it did? IWM. Down 1.29%, which isn't real bullish for the market. Negative momentum, under zero, still red, not turning around yet. The NASDAQ is bullish, hanging in there, up here right around the 1272 extension of this recent move. Positive, or it's negative momentum over zero, and at any point here it could just roll back up again. And you got positive momentum over zero going on the hourly chart. For fun, let's look at NVIDIA, which is getting ready to split. But I put this target on here a while back. Now we've hit 111 or 1166. Targets up there at 1187. You know, I don't know how exact it's going to be, but it's exact enough for me. We're getting there, and that's fascinating that it works like that. And we got a split coming up. On the 10th. So 6 days from now. It's got plenty of time to hit that target. The transportation index, we're going to look at IYT. It is still fighting to stay lower. Looks like it tried to do a little turnaround here, but now it's gone lower. Although we do have positive momentum under zero, which could play out to maybe some sort of a double bottom here or a higher low to start to consider maybe going back up again from these old levels. Oil is still going lower, and that's an interesting narrative that I've heard in the market in the news. Don't care a whole lot about what they say because the price chart really shows the news. Obviously, there's something making oil prices go lower, and it's going to take something to see this thing reverse at this point. Although, let's look at TLT because I do want to bring this up. This is one of these where I was playing a break of this trend line, and when it broke in this period here, I did go long, but I set a short-term tight, too tight of a stop, it appears, which is fine. Now it's gone back up above, so it stopped out people like me, and you're like, well, it's one that got away. Well, that's true, and you can look over here on the hourly chart. This is a break of structure to the upside, at least in my opinion, and I could make it. I mean, we broke that high. We didn't spend a lot of time above it yet. We are up against these moving averages, which are actually carried over from a higher time frame. And so do you just let it go? Kind of. I mean, this thing has gone way fast after it stopped people like me out to the upside. Well, now it's put in two dark blue bars on the hourly here, so I'm going to wait for it to roll over, come back down, potentially put in a buy signal with one of these arrows, or something like that at maybe the midline or wherever it decides to do it here, as long as it doesn't take out this pivot down here. And I can look for it to do that sometime or at some way in the price between here at 92.67 to potentially call it 90.74, where these moving averages are. And if it pulls back into this zone and gives me a buy signal where it starts to go yellow again on the hourly chart, then that would be a great place to get in, and then I can just pivot off of these pivots. And I could almost set this my stop here at this most recent low, although the market loves to take you out at the most recent low, which is why we use a lot of times the two pivots back. So anyways, that's a little kind of idea. You know, it's kind of like taking a potential bottoming pattern, which is what's going on here, and being able to work your way into it. We obviously, this is an impulse wave up, and now we've had an unwinding to the downside, and what I'm looking for is a new impulse wave higher, and we've got a muted one of those on the hourly chart, but you know, you can't typically go that too far without, you know, backfilling a little bit. And I'm going to be looking to get in on the backfill, and potentially when this momentum, it's already starting to think about going higher, but when it gets confirmed and goes back above zero again, that could be a great trade. So that's just an example. Trade at your own risk and hopefully understand what I'm talking about. Your trading is your decision making, obviously, but that's just a way to tackle it. All right. Gold, since we're here, is unwinding. Not terribly. This looks like it's got potential to roll back up again and not take out the pivot, but not a place I would decide I'm getting in. And let's look at some of these favorites. Let's look at ES with the cloud, still green above zero, or above the cloud. Let's look at YM below the cloud, or in the cloud, just like we talked about last night, and it's hanging out there. RTY, it's the Russell. At this point, it's in the cloud. If this thing turns around, and I'll use IWM, you know, it could be a great trade. And USO. So USO's fallen apart below the cloud, and so don't discount what this cloud means. It's really great information. It's not, I don't use it primarily as a trading system, but it's really good backup, and it's also got some signals in it. So, all right. Here's the VIX. It's been pushing up against the upper Bollinger Band, which is part of the reason we're getting so much volatility. Or, you know, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? I'm not sure, but this is something we're keeping an eye on. I would expect to close above the Bollinger Band here sometime shortly, and then a close below it to be kind of confirmation that the volatility is over, and then we could go consolidate for a little while back inside and trending down into the Bollinger Bands. And when we put all the markets together, this is one I'm keeping an eye on for sure, because we've pulled back to the 50% line, looking for this to start possibly making some positive movement again. And then when it does, I'm going to expect the market to go to probably the 1272 extension of all of this. which is probably up here around 67,500, which means nothing because it's just all these markets jammed together. Other than it's a pretty cool proxy for an overview on the market. And let's do the bullish percent indexes and get out of here. The industrials didn't move today. The NYA flipped over to a new column of O's, went down 3%. Unless we stay in this consolidation zone, this could be bad. The transports didn't move. The NASDAQ down 1.87%. The S&P 500 tacked on a new O today. That 6 is red. That's minus 2.11%. That's a new O. It just shows up as 6 because it's the first time in the 6th month of June. The S&P 100 down 1.64% today. The NASDAQ 100 tacked on a new O, same thing. It went down 9.3% today. And make of that what you will. Until next time, take care, good trading, and have a great night.